James Wan, what the hell did you do? Seriously. What's up, Universe, and welcome back to the web's first must-see comic and nerd culture show. Welcome to Comic Universe, guys. I'm your host, as always, C-Dubs, and I'm trying to do my best to bring you guys our thoughts on the Aquaman trailer. But every single time I get it posted up, Warner Brothers wants to hit us with a copyright, and it's just ridiculous. We're not even making money off of this channel just yet, and it's just so ridiculous that these companies have to keep doing this to us. It's so... Oh! Anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and try to break down the trailer the best I can. Unfortunately, I can't show you the whole trailer in its entirety, just to kind of avoid any drama. So basically, the trailer kind of opens up, as you guys can see here. I'm going to kind of use some still shots. You'll kind of see it somewhere up here on the screen. It kind of opens up with us kind of getting a good glimpse of Aquaman's mother, if you will, Nicole Kidman. Atlanta. She's basically, she washed up on shore. She's been damaged. And of course, this is when his dad goes down, rescues her. They fall in love and have a little baby Aquaman, if you will. And gotta say, she looks good. She looks stunning. She's as beautiful as ever. Gotta love the outfit. The white is nice and crisp. On point with that. Then we kind of move forward into the trailer, if you will. Kind of showing us Arthur as a kid. Getting bullied again, and this bully motif seems to be a kind of a trend going on with the last two DC trailers, if you will. First one obviously being in Shazam, where the bullies were picking on Billy and his, I guess you could say, foster brother, if you will, and literally just beating them up. And you kind of see this here, kind of this motif of this bullying going on again, if you will. And they kind of are pushing Arthur into the glass, and this is when a shark, boom, smashes his head into the glass, cracking the glass. Well, great scene. Absolutely fantastic. And then you get this zoomed out scene of all the sea life just kind of having his back, if you will. And that kind of is like all the other people like, okay, I'm out of here. First things first, that shark probably would have been dead hitting that glass that hard to crack it. Just saying. But man, that is such a beautiful scene. I'm really glad it's in the movie, if you will. Even as goofy as it would be for that bull shark to, headbutt the glass, if you will. Then we kind of go on to essentially Arthur breaking into the submarine, which is, I assume, setting up where maybe by no real default of his own, he is going to end up killing Black Manta's dad somehow, some way within this scenario, I would assume. I think that's the purpose of the whole scenario. And this is, of course, is what the motivation is that gets Black Manta basically on a hunt for revenge after Aquaman. Basically, his whole motif is basic revenge for killing his dad type of thing. And then we get a beautiful shot of Mera in her stunning green outfit. It's so good to see DC opening up to color and letting us enjoy it and just feel, the feelings that come along with seeing these colors. And she's absolutely stunning and gorgeous in this shot, and the hair, gotta love it. The wet look is definitely a good look for her. Amber, the actress, she's on point in this one, and later on in the video we get to see her hair all nice and dry, and she's just looking pretty crisp with that. Then we get, the scene with the shot of King Orm, if you will. And, we also get that shot of him later on in the throne where he kind of just sits down and drops the Triton, if you will. And it was kind of a quick shot, but it's kind of cool. You can kind of see how flowy his hair is and his cape and whatnot. Clearly given good special effects of being underwater. Now, this is a movie that, no matter how good it comes out now, this movie, if they didn't really give him a good budget and really focus and tweak those CGI effects, in probably less than 10 years, this movie could look really dated. As of now, obviously, it looks great. And I'm not knocking the video or the trailer whatsoever, or the movie. But this movie, because of how heavy the CGI has to be within it, really runs the risk of being the worst looking movie to date as time goes on. Well, maybe not as bad as Justice League, but I try to block that movie out of my head, if you will. So yeah, obviously we get a good shot of Arthur again, and some shots of Atlantis. In the Atlantis scenes, they're absolutely beautiful, ripped right from the pages, if you will, of the comic books. And I also get a little bit of I hate to say this, a little vibe of Star Wars Episode 1 when they go down to meet Jar Jar's race, if you will. I get a little bit of a vibe on that, and I'm just hoping it's just the trailer and we don't get that within the movie. I want to stay far away from thinking about the Phantom Menace, if you will. But we also kind of get a feel of like how grand and epic creating this whole new world within a universe. James Wan and Jason Momoa are doing such a good job at painting this picture for us, and it does have a little bit of a Thor and the MCU vibe, if you will, just kind of how grand Asgard is. We kind of get that same vibe, and I'm really digging it. And I'm not saying they're ripping them off, so before any of these DC fanboys start freaking out, it's not a ripoff, it's an homage, I would say, or some inspiration was taken from that. That's about it. Life is nothing more than inspiration in some way, shape, or form. We're all inspired by other things and throughout life, so it's not a bad thing. They're not stealing, they're not trying to be Marvel. They're just they see where the mistakes they've made. We've said what we want, and they're kind of trying to find some way to meet in the middle. Because unfortunately, the DCEU is stuck between a rock and a hard place. They're stuck in this place where if they don't do what Marvel's been doing to a certain degree, you're going to get a bunch of people going, why aren't you just doing what Marvel does? They've already shown you that it works. They've laid the blueprint out for everybody. Why can't you just get that through your head? So if they don't do it, they're going to be chastised for not doing it. If they do it, you're going to get those people go, they're just copying Marvel. They just want to be Marvel. They can't be original, blah, 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 blah. So they're stuck between this rock and a hard place. So they have to try to find this medium. And I think they're getting close between Shazam, everything we've seen here with Aquaman, and all the still shots and everything that we've seen with Wonder Woman 84. Just the vibrant colors alone, okay, are kind of doing it for me. Now, the one-liners that we keep getting here within Aquaman.
Permission to come aboard. That was the worst pep talk ever.
Hey, redheads! You gotta love them!
Kind of are a little much, but I'm hoping that it's just a few scenes and not to be as heavy as the trailer makes it seem to be. Moving on with the actual trailer, we get to see the actual fight or the overlay conversation, if you will, of Orm just kind of explaining that Aquaman is here to challenge him for the throne. And it looks very classic, like Game of Thrones-ish, Lord of the Rings-ish, where they would just have these two guys battle it out, generally to the death, if you will, to get the rights of whatever it is that they're fighting over, if you will, whether it be for the hand of somebody, for a kingdom, for honor, whatever. And we get this little shot of all the Atlanteans kind of getting hit with some, maybe an impact and force of a blow, and for a second they're all like, oh, and I think it's kind of supposed to kind of represent us, because it's at this point where we're all like, yeah, and it's like they do the same thing, they're like, yeah, and it's pretty funny, actually. It kind of matches up what I think the entire audience was feeling at that point in time. And of course we get this version of Aquaman trying to show how macho and how badass he is, and how he's not this joke, unfortunately, that the media and the past has kind of made Aquaman out to be. Even though if you are a fan of the comics, you're a fan of the character, you know how badass he really is.
I call it an ass whooping.
But he talks to Orm, he's like, I call this an ass whooping. And just to kind of hammer it home, I'm a badass, and I'm like, honestly, I don't think we need that in this movie. But I really understand there's this stigmata about him that they're going to try to do everything they can to get rid of it. And I'll be honest, and I'll be completely transparent here, Universe. I'm not a fan of the casting as Jason Momoa as Aquaman, personally. I honestly feel like we should be trying to stick it back at all those people that kind of made Aquaman this joke, and I think we should have stayed a little closer to the actual authentic look of Aquaman, and shown and proved to the world that he is not a joke and not to be messed with. Anyone who really can just think about what Aquaman does, okay, and the pressure of the ocean that he has to deal with, how strong this guy is, how fast this guy is, like, seriously, like, you have to be a moron not to see how badass Aquaman is, even without the additive of how badass Jason Momoa is. But, I do like Jason Momoa. I want to make that perfectly clear. And he is doing a good enough job to where I'm like, I can deal with it, but I just kind of, a part of me just wishes that we were getting the classic looking Aquaman and we were shoving it back in their face, showing them how awesome he is. And that would just be a win all the way around. But now, I mean, we're still going to get the win because clearly this movie's going to be pretty cool. I do believe it opens up around the same time, though, as like Mary Poppins. I don't know if it's the sequel, but I heard somewhere that a Mary Poppins movie is going to be coming out at the same time. And that could mean trouble for Momoa because in Aquaman, Disney is a juggernaut. And Mary Poppins is a pretty big name in on herself. So I'm not 100% sure on that. If my information is incorrect, forget I even said it. So moving on, I mean, one part about the whole trailer, everything with Aquaman from what we've seen so far from BVS and Justice League, and even in the trailer for this, is the motion of them swimming. This is just a little pet peeve of mine. It's not going to make or break this movie for me, I don't think. I do feel it'll be something I'll just have to live with and look over. It's just the way they move in the water and the way that they're swimming. There's no kicking. There's no actual swimming. There's thousands and thousands and thousands and millions even of sea creatures that live in the ocean. And they all have to propel themselves in some way, shape, or form. They don't just kind of glide through the water with the sake of gliding. There's some sort of movement. There's some sort of maybe pushing of water. There's got to be something that propels you through this water. And these guys just kind of seem to be able to fly through water like Superman does through the air. And I'm okay with it. I just hope that maybe there's an explanation that that's what they're doing. Like, just say something about it, and that will make my anxiety about it go away, if you will. But if it's just kind of there and this is how they swim, I'm just going to be like, forget physics, It just doesn't work like that type of thing, Like, especially if you're kind of going this way, and then if you all of a sudden you're kind of going from left to right of the screen, or you're ducking or dodging, like, big movements, and there's no, like, pushing of the legs or whatever like that, I'm just going to be like... Now, there is this one scene where, in the trailer, where Mira and him are swimming together, and she does kind of push herself along with her hands. So there's hope that maybe there is some actual swimming in there somewhere. But again, we'll just have to wait and see. And I know, Universe, that's just me nitpicking, and it's just a little anxiety thing with me. It just kind of bugs me. I'm a very technical-minded person, so I need to understand the situation. And to be honest with you, that kind of just freaks me out that they're not swimming in the water. But I'll look past it. It's not really that big of a deal. We get a few flashbacks of Aquaman as a kid in the trailer, which is really cool. We kind of get to see, him learning how to actually maybe utilize his abilities and his strengths and learning who he is. And I think the kid that they got to play Aquaman looks like Momoa. So I think that's kind of cool. And it's always great when you do that good at casting. Because sometimes, let's be honest, especially in like lower budget things or TV, you'll get a character or even a relative that doesn't even look like they would. I don't care how good of an actor they are or how well, of a job they did in the auditions. If they don't look anything like their family members or them as an older person, they're just, you got to kind of be like, hey, man, they're supposed to kind of look the same. It kind of takes some of us out of the picture when that's the case. From that, we get to see the actual trench, if you will, like the creatures. And this is where I think the movie is going to shine. Because, as we all know, James Wan, his background is horror. So he knows how to do horror. My only gripe with the idea of them, Black Manta, which we'll be getting to, okay, and Orm in this movie at the same time, is that we got 3 villains that could have been 3 separate movies. And I get it, with Aquaman it was probably one and done. We were like, we're gonna definitely get one. We don't know if there'll be any others, so if try and shoehorn as many good ideas, as long as it all works, I'm okay with it. But I don't know. I mean, honestly, Black Manta could have been a movie on himself. I'm hoping he's not just used as a lackey. I'm really hoping, especially since he's his biggest enemy, the first one you definitely think of when you think of Aquaman. I'm hoping he's maybe working with Orm, and then the whole time he's looking to kind of just flip the script on him and all the Atlanteans. He's not just trying to get revenge on, let's say, Aquaman. He wants revenge on all of these things and these guys, you know? I'm hoping it kind of goes that way, because I don't want him just to be used as a lackey. And I also don't want them to just be like, to use, and I know this is probably what it's really going to be, but they're probably just going to use the trench as the, for instance, in Avengers, we have the alien race come down just so that they're essentially foot soldiers that the characters can beat up on, and so that certain characters can get focused with the main bad guy or whatever the case may be. And this will probably be that, like Mira and some of the other Atlanteans, and everyone's going to be fighting the trench while, you know, Aquaman can go and face off with Orm or go face off with Black Manta, whatever the case may be. But they are such a cool and creepy idea that really they could have been like just overpopulating and then have made their way to the surface. And now in Aquaman 2 or 3, you know, Aquaman has to basically deal with this type of, not a zombie plague, obviously they're not turning people into them, but these creatures, just swarms and swarms of creatures that he just has to deal with, and they're horrific, and they're strong as him, and they're powerful as him, and they could rip him to shreds, and it just could have been its own film, I think. But anyway, they look awesome. You can kind of see some inspiration once again from the Xenomorph Alien franchise, if you will. They really look kind of like that, maybe with the elongated back and how kind of skinny they are. So I'm really happy about that. That looks fan-freaking-tastic, as you guys can see. Then we get into some real shots of some of the other races, which is kind of interesting. I hope there's a little more explanation just to that, just for the general audience. Because obviously not all the underwater life down there looks the same. Like, some of the Atlanteans look like us. Some of the other kingdoms look like fish. Some of the other kingdoms are supposedly supposed to really look like mermaids. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see where we go and how this all works. And, you know, if Aquaman actually pulls all the kingdoms together and it just becomes one, how are all these species or types of different races are going to deal with each other and live amongst one another? That'll be kind of interesting to see. Then we get some real good focus on Black Manta. And Black Manta does his best Cyclops impression and shoots the plasma eyes, and I literally jumped out of my seat like if I was on a roller coaster, hands up, just screaming. I was so excited. I knew obviously he was in the movie, but you know, until you see it, you kind of worry on how it's supposed to look on screen, and he looks great. He looks intimidating. I was kind of worried with the bulbous head how it would actually work, but it looks like they kind of broadened his shoulders a little more and gave him maybe something like a backpack, which is probably the energy pack, if you will, that allows him to blast out the blasts. There's another scene where he's tinkering with his helmet, and you see those that the iconic look that he generally has, but in that big shot scene with the red eyes when he's standing in the doorway or whatnot, this scene here, you can't really see the hoses. So, you know, hey, at least maybe it's just me, my recollection on the video. Anyway, then we get to see the freaking war that is going on underwater, and you can see the inspiration from Lord of the Rings again, and it just brought me back to that time, and it made me look so forward to this coming here at the end of the year. I cannot wait. Then we get an interesting idea, the fact that we have changed the Aquaman logo from that rustic, yellowish, brownish, goldish one that we've seen before in the past. This one over here. Okay, and now we got this one over here. Nice, bright, fluent water, obviously. So I'm digging the new logo. But then my only real pet peeve and the thing I did not like about this trailer, and it was the Goofy scream. And when I say Goofy, I mean the Goofy character. Yahoo!
What are you doing? Wait.
Should have a parachute.
Redheads, you gotta love them.
When he falls off a mountain, yeah, it really did not sit well with me for him. The first one kind of made me go, okay, that's maybe his island thing coming out of him, and it's cool. But then when it continued as he's falling, I was just like, it sounds like Goofy. I'm hoping that's one of those shots, because, you know, especially lately, trailers have kind of shown you one thing in the trailer, but it's absolutely not even like that, or even in the movie. Gosh, I hope that's one of those scenes, that we do not get him yelling like Goofy all the way down to the ground. And probably it's going to be a pretty cheesy scene. They're probably going to land in superhero poses. Or, you know, Mira will, and he will land headfirst into the sand, feet kicking up, something stupid. I hope that's not the case, though. But overall, love the trailer, guys. Super excited. Universe, I need you guys to let us know, what do you guys think? This was the biggest trailer of the weekend. Maybe not in stature, but the one we were all looking forward to the most. So yeah, guys, tell us in the comments below, what did you guys think? How do you see this all playing out? Do you think he's going to have that stupid Goofy scream in the movie? And guys, until next time, we'll see you in the universe. Peace.